My friends, what we are about to witness now is the exact and unmistakable sound of the spell brutally turning against the sorcerer. It's payback, pounding with full, relentless force at the door of those who, for years on end, thought they held the unquestionable keys to the world. We are witnessing the downfall of the man who got used to silencing millions of voices in Brazil with the stroke of a pen. Alexandre de Moraes now finds himself in a state of absolute deafening and revealing silence. He simply did not respond, did not show up, and did not justify his absence in the lawsuit being brought against him in the United States. A lawsuit led by the giants Rumble and Trump media. He kept his mouth shut, he ran away, and the geopolitical and psychological impact of this is monumental. Oh, bogeyman of Brasilia. The man who established the culture of fear in our country has just discovered, in the worst possible way, that there is someone infinitely greater under his bed. He ran into the judicial system of the world's greatest power. The boogeyman is cornered because American justice does not accept backroom maneuvers and does not bow to the authority of ministers from peripheral countries. Do you remember very well how the system operated not long ago? Alexandre de Moraes used the state apparatus to convict Congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro using the cowardly tactic of forced absence. He chose a backroom maneuver, serving him by public notice. Even though he knew perfectly well that the congressman has a known, fixed, and public address in the United States, even the journalists from The Intercept found Eduardo Bolsonaro's house, and Moraes, with all the resources and apparatus, ignored international rules, ignored the Geneva Convention, and letters rogatory just to fabricate an absent defendant. Well, the tables have turned. Fate made a historic U-turn that arrogance did not foresee. The American justice system gave Moraes a strict, inflexible, and legal deadline of 21 days to present his defense. And what did the all-powerful man from Brasilia do? Well, strictly speaking, nothing. The letter signed by lawyer Martin De Luca, who represents Trump media and Rumble in this explosive case, is a damning document. It categorically states before the Florida federal court that Moraes was duly notified by the methods authorized by the American judge. The deadline has expired. He did not show up. He did not send lawyers. He did not ask for additional time. In the face of this power vacuum, the Americans requested the declaration. The declaration is immediate about fleeing the battlefield. The defendant fled, my friends. And in the United States, when you disrespect the court and choose to flee the battlefield, the statistics are harsh. 99% of the time, the defendant loses the case and is crushed by the verdict. And it is exactly at this point, at the height of this institutional despair, that the rescue fails and the plot reveals the true face of panic in the Palácio do Planalto, the Brazilian government, following orders from the current administration, attempted to intervene in the case late in the second half. The Itamaraty and the Office of the Attorney General filed a petition trying to join the case. But do you think the government is defending Moraes out of friendship, affection, or pure solidarity? Wrong, absolutely wrong. They are trying to save their own skin before the American justice system fully opens Pandora's box. They asked the Florida judge to dismiss the case, using the old and worn-out excuse that Moraes was acting as a Supreme Court justice, and that therefore the lawsuit should be against the Brazilian state and not against Moraes personally. Here in Brazil, the system created laws to shield its public officials. If an authority makes a serious mistake, it's the federal government that pays the price and takes responsibility. It's the people. It's your money that funds impunity, but that's a Brazilian law written by them and for them. In the United States, the reality is different, cold and personal. American law targets the individual. Alexandre de Moraes is being sued as a private person. It's him, the citizen, who has to bear the consequences of his actions before the American court. And why would the Florida justice system ignore the defense of the Brazilian government? Because the central issue here is not about Brazilian laws, but about the unforgivable violation of the sovereignty of the United States. And the crimes for which Alexandre de Moraes is being prosecuted did not happen in Brasilia, they happened in Florida. He ordered, through extraterritorial decrees, that companies based in the United States censor users, take down profiles, and provide confidential information about American citizens on American soil. The ones who intervened in another country's sovereignty were not the Americans interfering in Brazil. No law came from an American court. Blocking, Brazilian social network. No, it was Alexandre de Moraes who invaded, tore up and disrespected American sovereignty with his censorship orders. In Brasilia, the power of this untouchable elite comes from wearing a robe, the monopoly of police force and endless investigations. But in Florida, my friends, power comes from the real economy, the free market, and the largest fleet of aircraft carriers on the planet. Dictators from peripheral countries forget that the world doesn't end at Chewy. When you demand that platforms like Rumble and X violate the First Amendment of the American Constitution to satisfy your hunger for control, are you attacking the sovereignty of the most powerful nation on earth? You're poking the lion with a short stick. And has the lion or the jaguar woken up? Here in Paraná, we say poking the jaguar with a short stick. The American government is extremely focused on putting an end to this dangerous game of extraterritorial justice. They won't allow their sovereignty to be undermined by a foreign judge. Now, my friends, pay attention to this. Every single day you ask me how I broke the million views barrier by going head to head with the system. Shimon, aren't you afraid? Shimon, but how do you still manage to reach millions of people in the midst of all this censorship? How do I build authority without depending on the goodwill of the algorithm? Well, I made a drastic decision, guys. I'm going to open the black box of my method. On July 12th in Curitiba, I'm going to unlock the doors of my professional studio, this one right here, and my whole setup, my whole team for an in-person intensive. This isn't a generic pre-recorded course. There will be only 10 people, 10 seats at my table, right here, breathing the same air and learning through a fully hands-on way. Script, high-impact retention, and unshakable positioning to take off in the digital world. Do you want to stop being invisible and become a real authority? I know you do. How do I do it? You ask me how I get 1 million views. Well, the link is in the QR code that's showing up on your screen. The spots will disappear quickly. This is your chance to turn things around. Now, getting back, folks, the inescapable truth is that the left is globalizing. It's losing strength on all fronts. And in the desperation of those who are losing the narrative, they try to silence the internet using the flimsy excuse of fake news to try to make people obey again. But there's no way to put the facts back in the box after it's been opened. The American lawyer who defends Rumble made this clear by comparing this case to what happened recently in England. The British government tried to punish an anonymous forum because British users were using VPN networks to access the site. Forsham had already blocked England to comply with local law, but the government there wanted to blame the platform for the individual actions of those who used technology to bypass the block. It's the same delusion of control. It's the same ignorance about how technology and freedom work in practice. And that's why the Moraes case in the United States is the watershed moment. The lawsuit filed by Donald Trump and Rumble aims to expose the stupidity of those who try to control the global flow of information with local threats. The world is being cleansed and reconfigured. We have already shown here how communism in Cuba collapsed and had to surrender to capitalism under the weight of international sanctions. Rotten pieces are being summarily removed from the global board. First, the Caribbean relic falls. And now the siege tightens, suffocating the gods of the Brazilian judiciary. If the American judge ignores Brazil's unusual petition and sentences Alexandre de Moraes after his escape, the historical impact will be huge. Consider how significant this change is. If the minister of the highest Brazilian court is convicted in the American justice system for violating the sovereignty of the United States and freedom of expression, if the conviction comes, he immediately becomes an international pariah. No more luxury trips to go shopping in New York, no more pompous lectures for friendly audiences in Europe, only suffocating isolation will remain. The international contempt and the harsh reality for someone who thought he was bigger than the world itself. The geopolitical chess game does not forgive arrogant amateurism. All that's left for dictators who don't have real military or economic power is to be expelled from the table. That's why we need to seal the fate of this ideology that tried to imprison our country. Now I want you to be part of this historic verdict. Go down to the comments now in all caps, and our engagement password for today is the following. Bad apple. I repeat, bad apple. Make your voice heard so the system sees that we know exactly what happens to those who challenge freedom. Now pay attention. Now stop wasting time choosing a movie or a series to watch and running into the same old ideological propaganda. Access our new channel with tips on series and movies, a fantastic, clean and high-quality curation so you can just enjoy in peace with your family. No woke stuff or any whining at all. Link in the description, in the first pinned comment, and in the card that will appear on your screen now. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it really takes work to make it, my friends. Shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.